Hello and welcome to another edition of Football Feedback. Week three's in the books and it was a decent one for us. Went 10-6 on the money line, 6-9-1 against the spread. Not great, but good news on the year. We're 23, 21, and 4. If you ignore the pushes, it's a little bit above 52%, which is right where we need to be. Only at about 64.5% on the money line year to date. Looking to improve that. We know both goals we have this season, trying to go 55% against the spread and 70% on the money line. So week four, we got to get right. Both targets are still in reach. The first game we're going to talk about is happening in London. The Jacksonville Jaguars go to their second home. Some say that it's their first home or the place they play better. And they'll be hosting, in theory, the Atlanta Falcons. Jaguars are 3-point favorites coming off an embarrassing loss to the Houston Texans. Jaguars were 9-point favorites and they blew that game. Screwed me in a survivor pool. Not good. With that said, I expect Atlanta to be able to move the ball on the ground up the middle. Jacksonville's interior defensive line has struggled so far this season, and I expect more of the same. On the flip side, I expect the Falcons defense to be able to create pressure up the middle, getting some heat onto Trevor Lawrence and probably see him making some mistakes. Either way, I think the game will be close. I expect it to be within 3 points either way. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Falcons +3. So Falcons money line and Falcons +3. The next game features two of the best teams in the NFL. The Miami Dolphins travel to Buffalo to take on Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. Miami comes off a game where they scored 70 points in Denver, and they'll be looking to keep that momentum going. And they'll actually be getting one of their weapons back. Jalen Waddle was not available last week when the offense put up 70, so he'll be back this week against Buffalo. In Buffalo's secondary, Jordan Poyer has been ruled out, so it'll be interesting to see if the Bills are able to slow down the Dolphins. Buffalo is favored by 3 points at home. And just given what we've seen with Miami so far this season, the Bills have been good outside of opening week, but the Dolphins have looked like the best team in the NFL. And until they show otherwise, especially if I can get points, I'll take it all day. Dolphins +3 and money line. The next game we're going to talk about is the Minnesota Vikings going to Carolina to take on Bryce Young and the Panthers. That's right, Bryce Young is making his return, looking to move the offense down the field as good as Andy Dalton did last week while Young was out nursing an ankle injury. Minnesota, and actually, well, both teams in this game are looking to get a win, but expectations coming into the season were a little different for both teams. Carolina coming off having the first pick and getting Bryce Young, looking to start a rebuild. The Vikings, they got rid of Dalvin Cook. People, kind of raised questions, but they said, oh, Alexander Madison will be fine. He can be just as good. And they couldn't have been more wrong. The Vikings offenses look sporadic. The defenses look terrible. And the Vikings are sitting at 0-3, and they're 5-point favorites on the road in Carolina. This game opened at 3.5 points, and is actually a lot of money's been coming in on the Vikings, and the line's moved to 5. 5 points is a lot, and I just can't take Kirk Cousins and the Vikings on the road to cover 5 points. So I'm going to take the Panthers at home +5, but I think the Vikings get the win. So Vikings money line, Panthers +5. In Chicago, we have a battle between the two worst teams in the NFL, the Chicago Bears and the Denver Broncos. Neither team has a win, but someone's going to get one this weekend. Neither team really probably deserves one given how bad they've played, and we'll see how ugly this game gets. The Broncos have some injuries along their defensive line, and the Bears are banged up in the secondary. But other than that, the Broncos are favored by 3.5, and I expect them to be able to move the ball on the ground against the Bears defense and control the game. I see Denver getting their first win, probably by a touchdown or more, so I'll take Denver -3.5 and Broncos money line. The Baltimore Ravens travel to Cleveland to take on my hometown Cleveland Browns. Browns are favored by 2.5 in this game, and the defense has looked incredible. They're on a historic pace for yards allowed per game, and they look to continue that trend. I was feeling confident in the Browns by 2.5 when I first saw this line, and then all sorts of different news starts coming out. Watson's listed as questionable all of a sudden. He was limited in practice all week with what they're calling the shoulder contusion. So will he play? Won't he play? It was noted that he came out on Friday, threw one ball, and immediately went and met with the trainer. We'll see how he feels on Sunday. Also, PJ Walker was upgraded from the practice squad, so it seems like we might be seeing DTR get the start for the Browns if Watson isn't able to go. I still like the Browns, just given how good the defense has been. I don't expect the Ravens to be able to do much. They're banged up on their offensive line, so I think the Browns' defensive line is just going to eat them alive. They're not going to be able to move the ball on the ground, and I think the Browns will be getting pressure on Lamar Jackson all day. So despite all the news, give me the Browns. Next up, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers traveling to Houston to take on the Texans. Steelers are 2.5 point favorites on the road in Houston. Texans are coming off that impressive win in Jacksonville. Steelers are coming off an impressive win in Las Vegas. So it'll be interesting to see these two teams do battle. CJ Stroud has clearly been the best rookie quarterback. He's looked good, got the win last week. I think this week the Steelers' pressure gets to him. I think they pressure him into creating a turnover or two, and the Steelers get the win. Next up, the Los Angeles Rams travel to Indianapolis to take on the Colts. Anthony Richardson is back, and the Colts are coming off a win over the Ravens, looking to get a little win streak going. The visiting Rams are also looking to get a little momentum headed in the right direction. Just looking at this matchup, neither team has a good defense. And then, so if you just go ahead and say, all right, that's a wash, neither team has an advantage, you flip over to the offensive side, and I feel like there's a clear and distinct advantage in the Rams' favor in this case. And so right now, I have this game at a pick 'em. I know the lines moved a lot, but given the lines I'm going off of, it's a pick 'em. And so I just think in the end, the Rams win the game, so they're the obvious pick, giving it the Rams both ways, money line and against the spread. An NFC South battle between the Tampa Bay Bucs and the New Orleans Saints. The Tampa Bay Bucs are 3.5 point underdogs on the road in New Orleans against the Saints. Jameis Winston likely to get the start with Derek Carr nursing an injury to his shoulder coming off last week's game. Buccaneers, Baker Mayfield have looked good. They ran into a much better team last week in the Philadelphia Eagles, and I expect them to be able to bounce back against the Saints. The Saints defense is coming off an ugly collapse, something I'm very familiar with Joe Woods, who is now the defensive coordinator for the Saints. I don't know if everybody else knew that. He's the fired former defensive coordinator of the Cleveland Browns, who managed to have a very similar defense to what the Browns have right now. The Browns, through 3 games, are on a historic pace. They were one of the worst defenses with Joe Woods, and not many personnel changes there. So I, for one, am someone who has always had high respect for the Saints defense. It's been good for as long as I can remember. But I'm officially taking that out of my mind because now that Joe Woods is at the helm, things like last week are going to become the norm. So just that, getting 3.5 points against Joe Woods makes this a game I want to take. Plus, with Derek Carr out, Jameis Winston in. I actually do like Jameis Winston, and I think he's good enough to be a starter in the NFL. But he's also known for turning the ball over a lot and taking a lot of chances, and that's what I expect to happen. Tampa Bay's defense gets a couple turnovers. Baker Mayfield and the boys get things going on offense. Buccaneers win the game. I'm taking a money line and plus 3.5. All right, the Washington Commanders traveling to Philadelphia for a division battle against the Eagles. Eagles are favored by 8 points in this matchup. Washington's coming off an absolutely embarrassing loss to the Buffalo Bills, getting blown out, and they're looking to avoid another blowout loss. Sam Howell, some have said, was exposed a little bit. You know, he was getting pressured by the Bills and throwing a lot of interceptions, costing his team the game. And it's just one of those things. The way I like to think about it is, yeah, you can nitpick, which team is better, this or that. But at the end of the day, sometimes the difference in quality or tier, if you will, is all you really need to look at. The Bills are a top tier team, Super Bowl contender. The Commanders are not, mid level at best. And so, therefore, it's not surprising that they got blown out. Would have been more surprising to me if they kept it close. I know that probably sounds weird to say because I did have Commanders keeping it close. I took them with the points last week. It's obviously totally wrong. but it just cemented to me that I was overinflating the Commanders start a little bit and kind of undercrediting the Bills. The Bills are still one of the top teams, and so therefore the Commanders getting blown out, no surprise. Another top team, the Eagles, no surprise. I expect another blowout in this against the Commanders. Therefore, I am going to go ahead and take Philadelphia and lay the 8 points. So Philadelphia money line and against the spread. So a banged up Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals travel to Tennessee to take on the Titans. The Titans are coming off a game in which they got dominated by that Browns defense. The Browns ended up winning the game 27-3. Embarrassing for the Titans. The Titans couldn't get anything going on offense. The Bengals actually got a win last week more because of their defense than their offense, which is a little different than what they're used to, but it's a pleasant sign given the fact that Burrow's health is not exactly 100%. So in this game, if the Bengals defense can show up again, I think the Bengals get an easy win because the Browns kind of laid out a blueprint for what the Bengals could do to stop them. Now, the Bengals might not have the same personnel to be able to do exactly what the Browns did, but I expect the Bengals to be able to slow the Titans down. And even if you say, oh, the defenses are a wash or they played it even, then you flip to the offense, advantage Burrow over Tannehill. And I just think that the Bengals will be able to score regardless of who's kind of controlling the game. The Bengals will just be able to outscore the Titans. So give me the Bengals -2 and on the money. The game between the Las Vegas Raiders and Los Angeles Chargers, two teams that I can never get a feel for when it comes to betting. Chargers are favored by 5.5. If you pay attention to the line movement, this one opened at Chargers -6, and I've seen it as low as Chargers -4.5. A lot of money coming in on the Raiders, no surprise there. But I guess the little bit of surprise to me is Jimmy Garoppolo question in the air. He was knocked out with a concussion last week. With the new protocols, they're saying you're basically going to expect to miss at least one game when you enter concussion protocol. So he's been limited participant at practice the last couple of days. A lot of question marks about whether he plays or not. Either way, I think I'm leaning Chargers and just going to go ahead and lay the 5.5. There's so many points to be with the Chargers, but if Garoppolo doesn't play, I think Hoyer, similar to Winston, steps in, has a couple of bad throws, cost his team the game. And so but I also just can't get behind the Raiders given all the question marks. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Chargers -5.5 and on the money. The New England Patriots are 6.5 point underdogs as they travel to Dallas to take on the Cowboys. Dak Prescott and the Cowboys are coming off a terrible loss to the Arizona Cardinals. Embarrassing. That one stung for me as well. I actually took the Cowboys and laid the points last week, thinking, that defense would be able to do something, shut down the Cardinals offense, but obviously Cowboys struggled. Off game, we'll call it. Maybe they bounce back, look good, back to form. Or you could make the case that they beat up two really bad New York teams and then had a bit of a reality check in week 3. Not that the Cardinals are better than the Cowboys or anything, but just a wake up call. And they're playing the Patriots, who've actually had a fairly tough schedule to start the season. They've held their own. They're sitting at 1-2, but they've been in each of the games, which is all you can really ask for. Have a chance to win. Obviously, you want to win them all, but at least having a chance is always nice. Much like what they've done so far this season, I expect the Patriots to be able to keep this game close, touchdown or less. Obviously, if it's a full touchdown, extra point, 7, the Cowboys would cover, but I think the Patriots hopefully keep it to 6 or less. Give me New England +6.5. And you know what? I'll take New England on the money line too, because, oh, no. Give me New England +6.5, but I'll take the Cowboys on the money. The San Francisco 49ers look to continue their dominant season as they host the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals coming off that win against the Cowboys, 49ers coming off blowout win after blowout win. And it seems like the odds makers are expecting the same here as the 49ers are 14-point favorites. But I don't expect much to change. I know Debo Samuel's questionable, but they'll be getting Ayuk back this week. I just think that the 49ers keep rolling and that they beat the Cardinals by 20 plus points and leave no doubt. A lot of talk about the next game, not all for football reasons. The Kansas City Chiefs travel to New York to take on Zach Wilson and the New York Jets. It's reported that Taylor Swift will be in attendance, so if you want to factor that into your bet at all, I'm just ignoring it. I'm more focused on the fact that Jets coaching and management seems to be going out of their way to let the world know that Zach Wilson is their guy and that they're going to stick with him moving forward. Really kind of a shame for that team because you brought in Rodgers, you had high expectations to go to the Super Bowl. Rodgers gets hurt the fourth play of the season, and the plan is to just turn the keys over to Zach Wilson, despite him never showing the ability or capability of leading the team to where they're trying to go. And there's at least some viable veteran options that they could try to bring in. I know it's probably going to be hard to bring someone up to speed on the playbook and everything, but I just got to think that Zach Wilson is not the Jets' best option to win games for the rest of the season. Now, despite saying all that, I do like the Jets in this game. The line I have them at is Jets plus 9.5. I'm going to go ahead and take that. I think that the defense shows up this week. They want to ball out against Patrick Mahomes and kind of show that they are of an elite status. So I think they're going to go ahead and keep this game close. Chiefs obviously get the win in the end. But with all the distractions around Kelsey and Swift and everything going on there, I just think that it ends up being a much closer game than it should be. And Jets covers. Jets plus 9.5. Chiefs money. Monday Night Football features the Seattle Seahawks traveling to New York to take on the New York Giants. This is a pick 'em game, and I'm leaning Seattle. The Seahawks are actually 5-0 in MetLife Stadium, and Pete Carroll has a great record on the East Coast, and I think that continues in this game. This is one of the games that has seen the most line movement of the week. Giants actually opened as 1.5 point favorites, and it's all the way now to where the Seahawks are favored by 1.5, so a 3 point swing. I'm happy to have gotten the Seahawks at a pick 'em. So I think there's great value there. I think the Seahawks get the win. Giants are battling some injuries and trying to figure out kind of who and what they are going forward. I think this is an easy win for Seattle, probably touchdown or more. So in the pick 'em, give me Seattle money line twice almost because it's a pick 'em, but just Seattle to win. That's all we got for week 4 of the NFL. Excited to keep trending towards our goals. Keep that in mind. 55% against the spread, 70% money line by the end of the season. Both are in reach. This week's 5 weekend winners include the Los Angeles Rams, Tampa Bay Bucs, Philadelphia Eagles, Cincinnati Bengals, Seattle Seahawks. Good luck.